Hare Krishna, this morning we will read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, Text 7. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamudirayat Nasta Prayasya Bhadrasu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki Yasyam Vaishyamanayam Yasyam Vaishyamanayam Krishna Paramapurushe Bhakti Utpatyate Pumsam Soka Moha Bhayapaham Yasyam Vaishyamanayam Krishna Paramapurushe Bhakti Utpatyate Pumsam Soka Moya Bhayapaham Yasyam Vaishyamanayam Krishna Paramapurushe Bhakti Utpatyate Pumsam Soka Moha Bhayapaham. Yasyam Vaishyamanayam Krishna Paramapurushe Bhakti Utpatyate Pumsam Soka Moha Bhayapaham. Yasyam Vaishyamanayam Krishna Paramapurushe Bhakti Utpatyate Pumsaha Soka Moha Bhayapaham. Okay, then the word for word translation. Yasyam, this Vedic literature, why? Certainly, Shroyamanayam, simply by giving oral reception, Krishna, unto Lord Krishna, Parama, Supreme, Purushe, unto the personality of Godhead, Bhakti, feelings of devotional service, Utpatyate, sprout up, Pumsa, of the living being. Soka, lamentation. Moha, illusion. Bhaya, fearfulness. Apaha, that which extinguishes. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Simply by once giving oral reception to this Vedic literature, the feeling for loving devotional service to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. Please repeat. Simply by once giving oral reception.
Simply by once giving oral reception
To this Vedic literature. The feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna.
The feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. Purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. There are various senses of which the ear is the most effective. This sense works even when a man is deep asleep. One can protect himself from the hands of an enemy while awake, but while asleep one is protected by the ear only. The importance of hearing is mentioned here in connection with attaining the highest perfection of life, namely getting free from 3 material pangs. Everyone is full of lamentation at every moment. He's after the mirage of illusory things and is always afraid of his supposed enemy. The mirage. Yeah. So these are the primary symptoms of the material disease. And it is definitely suggested herein that simply by hearing the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, one gets attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And as soon as this is affected, the symptoms of the material disease disappear. Srila Vyasadeva saw the all-perfect personality of Godhead. And in this statement, it is clearly confirmed that the all-perfect personality of Godhead is Krishna. The translation again. Simply by once giving all reception to this Vedic literature, the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. Om Ajnana Timandasya Chinansana Shalakaya Chakshurunmiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Samrupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shiru Shiyuda Padakamanam Shirum Vaishnavam Sha Shirupam Sagajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savarutam Parjana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagalita Shri Vishakam Vitamsa He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Chatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kansna Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamama Haripriye Avanha kalptabasha kripa sindhu bhevasha patnam pavanabhyo vaishnabhyo namo namo. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamani. Namaste Saraswata Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Desatana Srila Prabhupada Ki Hare Krishna. So this is a result of the meditation by Srila Vyasadeva, a meditation on the absolute truth with devotion. Because his spiritual master Narada Muni chastised Srila Vyasadeva. Because Srila Vyasadeva felt depressed, little morose, because at that moment Narada Muni appears, and it's very mystical. In the Bhagavatam, there is no welcoming, there is no introduction. Immediately, Narada Muni starts to chastise his disciple, pointing out the cause of his depression. That Narada Muni first said, "You did a great job. You have compiled all this Vedic literature. You have compiled so many writings about karma kanda, and you compiled the Mahabharata. You did a great job. But then he says, but are you only concerned with the body and the mind? What about the interest of the soul? That you have done this wonderful job, but you did not glorify the Supreme Lord sufficiently. So if we feel disconnected with Krishna, then we are depressed, unhappy. Because we are missing the connection. So if we feel depressed, it means we are disconnected from Krishna. And Srila Vyasadeva has compiled all this literature, but it was with a purpose also. Why are souls coming to this material world? Is to enjoy separately from Krishna. And therefore it gives them this karma kanda literature so that they can enjoy, and in a pious way. So that they can enjoy in a pious way and enjoy more and more. But this enjoyment will never give satisfaction to the soul. It's all an illusion. Prabhupada speaks about the mirage of the mirage in the desert. That you see a reflection of water in the desert, and you think it's water. like you think you are going to enjoy, but it doesn't give happiness to the soul. Not, but many people, they want this illusory happiness, and that's their goal of life, to enjoy the body and the mind. But it doesn't give us really satisfaction. That I remember always Radhanath Maharaj, who said, yes, explained this as follows, that what do we all want? He says, we want to love and be loved, but do we get that in this world by this sense gratification? No. That this love we can only get when we become connected with Krishna. So, and therefore, to connect with Krishna, these first 2 days said you must hear about Krishna. But Srila Vyasadeva heard them from Narada Muni. Narada Muni was going to convince him with telling the story of his previous life, that the stories of his previous life, that in his previous life, Narada Muni was Upabharana, a Gandharva. A Gandharva, the Gandharva means dancing and singing. But Prabhupada said Upabharana was a bit like a playboy. He was very handsome and attracted many girls. And he was very nice in singing, and he was singing the glories of the demigods. Prabhupada said he was singing cinema songs. But then one day there was a Sankirtan festival organized by sages. And of course, Sankirtan festival means glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Upabharana with his girlfriends went to the festival singing his cinema songs. So the sages became angry. I said, no, you should chant the glories of the Supreme Lord. And they cursed him to get a human form and to become a Sudra. And then he took birth as the son of a Sudrani, but it's always interesting. In the Bhagavatam, there is no mention of a father. It's not there. That it is like Kali Yuga. Yeah. The child is born and the father is already gone, and a mother alone. Yeah. And that's typical. We see that so many in America, in Europe, that they are together. They are together for some time, and in the beginning it's nice. I love you, and a few years later, I hate you, and then there is divorce. That it's typical. It's a mode of passion. In the beginning is in mode of passion means in the beginning is nectar, but then later it becomes poison. And then they become absorbed in this duality of hate and desire, attraction and aversion, raga, dvesha. So yes, but we know the story of Narada Muni. He was serving these Bhaktivedantas during 4 months. 4 months, and he was begging them to get remnants, and was eating the remnants, and was always hearing the Bhagavatam from them. And this is, yeah, this is what the verse says. He was always hearing the Bhagavatam. He was a boy 5 years old. And after 4 months, he became completely sober. That a child of 5 years it's difficult for them even to sit still and listen. Very difficult. That they want to play, they want to do so many things. But he was sober, no interest in play, and so on. That and as instructed by the sages, he was chanting the names of Krishna. And we know is interesting. And then one day, in the middle of the night, his mother was going to milk a cow. Who is milking a cow in the middle of the night? Anyway, it happened. And she got bitten by a cobra. And she passed away. And little Narada, he saw this as the hand of Krishna. Because after the sages left, he had only his mother, and his mother was very attached to him. And now he saw the hand of Krishna. He said, Krishna made me free. And he performed the last rites, and he was walking to the north, always chanting the holy names. And it's a beautiful story, that because at a certain moment, he sits with his back to a pipala tree, a banyan tree, chanting the holy names with attention. And suddenly Krishna appears in his heart, and he feels great ecstasy. Great ecstasy. But then it suddenly disappears, and a voice comes to the sky and said, I appeared before you, but you will not see me again in this lifetime, because there are still some impurities in your heart. And then it started to chant again, as instructed by the sages. That he started to chant, but he could not get it back. But then, many months later or years later, chanting, suddenly, like a flash and lightning together, and he was in his spiritual body. He got his spiritual body, and then he entered the body of Mahavishnu and came out at the next creation from the mind of Brahma, who was meditating on the Supreme Lord with devotion. That I always thought, in the body of Mahavishnu for so long, these trillions of years, that but was that the experience of Narada? He had his spiritual body. There is this joke that says, it's a man asking to God and says that I heard that 1 second for you is for us trillions and trillions of seconds of years. Is that true? And God said, yes, my son. And then he's asking God, I heard that $1 for you is trillions and trillions of dollars for us. and, and God said, yes, my son. And then the man asked, could you give me $1? And God said, just wait a second. So in that way, we can understand for Mahavishnu, the whole creation is beyond time. It's different. And when one gets a spiritual body, one comes on that same level. So for Narada Muni, it was just a flash of time, and he appeared as the son of Brahma. That, of course, we know became the spiritual master of Srila Vyasadeva here, and is explaining explaining how he got the perfection. So that's the highest devotee. Therefore, Prabhupada says in Nectar of Instruction, text 5, that one should be careful to accept an Uttam Adhikar as a spiritual master. An Uttam Adhikar is liberated beyond liberation. So he can explain you how he did it, right? And therefore, he can bring you to that point. That, but then he instructed Srila Vyasadeva. He said, you didn't glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead sufficiently. So now you should write literature glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, you should meditate on the Absolute Truth with devotion. And that is what Srila Vyasadeva did. That, and then in the previous verses, it's from 174, in three verses, realizations are explained. You can just read the verses. That is a lot of purpose, but because these three verses, they are a summary of the entire Bhagavatam. And from these three verses, the entire Bhagavatam will expand. That, so here, thus the mind, he got the instruction of Narada Muni to fix his mind, his heart with devotion on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus he fixed his mind perfectly, engaging it by linking in devotional service, bhakti yoga, without any tinge of materialism, and thus he saw the Absolute Personality of Godhead along with his external energy, which was under full control. So he sees, he is fixing his mind. It's linking it in devotional service. So devotional service links us with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we must always be connected. That's the point. 24 hours a day. If we are disconnected, we are in immaterial consciousness, in Maya. Maya illusion is described in the second Shatur Sloka from the Srimad Bhagavatam Shatur Sloka. That's in the Shatur Sloka is described in the second canto, chapter 9, verses 34, 33, 34, 35, 36. And the Shatur Sloka is also a summary of the Bhagavatam. But this is Shatur Sloka that in the beginning of creation, Brahma was doing penances in devotional service for a long time. And then Krishna giving the Vedic knowledge to the heart in these 4 verses. It is Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavi Muyanti Atsuya. That's in the first verse of the Bhagavatam. The Brahma got his knowledge to the heart. Transcendental knowledge you get to the heart, because in the heart is the soul. It's a transfer from Krishna to the soul. That transcendental knowledge you cannot get to the brain. That's, we can memorize verses, that's all theoretical. But that's jnana. But getting jnana is not getting the transcendental knowledge, really. It's vijnana. You must realize this knowledge. Theoretical knowledge you don't take with you if you go to next life. You forget. But the vijnana you take with you. That's what we need. And the vijnana comes from, Krishna says, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. I give it to your heart. That it's the same process. He gives it to the heart, but he gives it only to the heart if we serve him with a little love. Priti Purvakam. But we don't have love. That's a problem. We even don't know what it is. We think lust as love. But if we follow the instructions of the spiritual master, Krishna accepts us as love and gives us the realization. And that's the agreement Krishna has made. So we have here, he fixed his mind in the linking process of devotional service. The linking process is important. It connects us with Krishna. Because if we are not connected with Krishna, we are in the illusory energy. The second sloka of this Srimad Bhagavatam Chatra sloka, which Brahma received to the heart, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adkabe Muhyanti Atsuya. This verse describes what is illusion. That says, illusion is things seeing disconnected with Krishna. Because everything is connected with Krishna. Krishna is in every atom. But we don't, when we don't see Krishna, that's illusion. And devotional service is the spiritual energy. That devotion is the spiritual energy that makes the connection. But we can only link with Krishna, this verse say, if we are serving Krishna without any tinge of materialism. What does tinge of materialism mean? Tinge of materialism means material motivation. If you approach Krishna with material motivation, the link is not really there. We see that the demigods, when Brahma went to pray to Kshirodakasaya Vishnu in Shvetadvip, demigods are Sakam Bhaktas. They want to serve and please the Supreme Lord by their service and assist him, but they have their own material motives. That is, they want to control also. And when they try to get in contact with Krishna, with Kshirodakasaya Vishnu, at the beach of Svetadvip, at the Milk Ocean, and the Lord was far away in the Milk Ocean, and they tried to get in contact with him, but only Brahma could, because he was without any tinge of materialism. So that's how to make the connection. And he saw the absolute truth was there. He saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his spiritual and material energies and he saw the spiritual worlds, he saw the material worlds, and between the Viraja River, the Karana Ocean, And then in the next verse says here, due to this external energy, the living entity, although transcendental to the three modes of material nature, thinks himself as a material product and thus undergoes the reactions of miseries. So it says we are transcendental. The soul is spiritual, is higher energy, and the material energy is lower energy. And we have become under control of the lower energy. And what is that? How do we know we are under the control of the material energy? Next verse, he explains that next verse, no, it was the verse before probably, the 7, 6. Yeah, here. Due to this external energy, although transcendental to material modes of nature, thinks himself a material product. We think ourselves the body. We identify with the body. And then he starts to give the solution. First, what is the cause of our material miseries? That the cause is we are disconnected. So we are in illusion. We see things, and that disconnection, Prahlad Maharaj calls a separatist mentality. Seeing things separate. That if we identify with the body, we see things separate. I think I'm a man. I'm separate from all the women. I think I'm Indian or American. I'm different from all the other nationalities. These are all upadis. That's factory all illusion. That so this body identification is separating that. Yeah. So the material miseries of a living entity which are superfluous to him can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotion service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the supreme truth. And then we come to the verse of today, that so simply by giving oral reception to this Vedic literature, oral reception, hearing, that then we hear about Krishna, and all the lamentation, illusion, and fear is going. That of course we hear, we accept, we follow. For this process, we need a spiritual master. And in 92, that is many years ago, one of the first devotees I met was Vishnu Goswami. Vishnu Goswami was from Gujarat, from Rajkot, and he was in England. That Vishnu Goswami, and he was the first devotee that I met, and he gave a lecture on this verse, and I still remember it. He said, you must do SSI and you get rid of LIF. That was his instruction. Yeah, you must do SSI. That what is this SSI? It's service and submission, service, and inquiry from the spiritual master. Dat is een verse. Dat vinipane partner pariprishna sevya upadeksham didegnam ganas dat vadakshi. If you do that, and what is the instruction of the spiritual master? You should hear Bhagavatam. Otherwise, yeah. Remember Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada said, once he asked to the disciples, why am I translating these books in the middle of the night, giving up my sleep? Why am I doing that? It's for you to read. If you are not reading my books, Guru Avakya, it's an offense to the spiritual master. Third offense against the holy name is Guru Avakya. So we must read these books. That's the order of the spiritual master. How do we get rid of this lamentation, illusion, and fear? Just by reading the books. Because Bhagavatam is about Krishna. We get to know Krishna. And we start to understand our position. And we are educated in how to make the connection. That Sambandha Jnana, knowledge of our connection with Krishna, Sambandha Jnana. And then we learn also Abhideya, how to practice it. And we get Prayojan, the goal, love of Krishna. So that's because why are we lamenting in illusion and fearful? Because we identify with the body. We are afraid to lose the body, to die, and so on. But there is no death for the soul, Krishna says. We never came into existence. We will never cease to exist. So this is because this illusion is very strong in the mind. And to give up that illusion, we must stop identifying with the mind. All our suffering is in the mind. And when we identify with the mind, lamentation, illusion, and fear. And the mind, what's the function of the mind? Accepting, rejecting. That's attachment, aversion. One becomes absorbed in the duality of raga, dvesha, attachment and aversion. We like what gives pleasure to the body, and we don't like what gives distress. But when we are engaged in devotional service, the mind is fixed on Krishna, is connected. And we forget about this attachment and aversion. That disappears. From the moment we disconnect, our absorption in attachment and aversion is again there. So we must always connect. And this is a very simple method giving oral reception to the Bhagavatam. But to give oral reception to the Bhagavatam requires attention of the mind. And the mind thinks many times there are more important things to do. That's Maya. That we think I've so many things to do for my family, my business, and so on. No time. But that's illusion. Lamentation, illusion, and fear. Because in the Bhagavatam, in the Bhagavad Gita, divine qualities are described in the godly qualities. 16th chapter. What's the first quality? Abhaya, fearlessness. Then you come to the transcendental platform, the platform of the soul. So this is, but giving our reception is not easy. At the end of the 3rd chapter, and I will read it to you. We have the Bhagavatam here. 3rd chapter, last verse. Last verse. Oh. Here, last verse. I read the translation. O learned Brahmins, when Sukadev Goswami recited the Bhagavatam there, in the presence of Emperor Parikshit, I heard him with rapt attention, and thus by his mercy I learned the Bhagavatam from that great and powerful sage. Now I shall try to make you hear the same very thing as I learned it from him and as I realized it. Sutta Goswami here, he was there when Sukadev Goswami spoke to Maharaj Parikshit. Sutta Goswami was hearing and said, I heard this with rapt attention. And so that's very important when Srila Prabhupada met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati.
Aru, jo dadan su to vijaye. Oh.
Oh, it's gone. So Prabhupada met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj in 1921, I think. Then some years later, because Prabhupada was a representative of a pharmaceutical company. He was trying to sell their products all over India. And he had even a car that he was using for the travel. And once he was near to Delhi, and he heard that the spiritual master was giving a lecture in Koshi. Koshi is part of the Vraja Mandal, Vrindavan Vraja Mandal. I've been there a few times, and he was going to hear from his spiritual master, because Srila Prabhupada got initiated in 1933. He was still Bhakta Abhay. So when he arrived, and one of the brahmacharis informed Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, Bhakta Abhay has come. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, yes, I noticed him. He likes to hear. He hears always with attention. Therefore, I will give him initiation. And Prabhupada writes, it's in Prabhupada Lilamrita of Satsvarup Das Goswami. There it's read, you can read that Prabhupada says, my spiritual master spoke very high philosophy, and many times I could not understand everything, but I continued to hear with great attention. But here in the purport, it is explains how one can hear with rapt attention, because Prabhupada he comments on that. It's a little here. So one should hear with rapt attention from the real person, and then he can at once realize the presence of Lord Krishna in every page. So Prabhupada says how we can extract Krishna from the Bhagavatam, from every page. So he says the secret of knowing Bhagavatam is mentioned here. No one can give rapt attention who is not pure in mind. Because the mind takes your way. But then how to become pure in mind? No one can be pure in mind who is not pure in action. No one can be pure in action who is not pure in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. So Prabhupada says you must follow the four regulative principles. If you are not following them strictly, you cannot hear with attention. Because this, if you don't follow the four regulative principles, lust comes in your mind. And lust causes identification with the body through absorption in attachment and aversion. And that becomes too strong. And the mind brings you to the past or the future, and you lose the presence, and you cannot focus. And so that's important. But somehow or other, if someone hears with rapt attention from the right person, let's say the right person, at the very beginning, one can assuredly see Lord Krishna in the person, in the pages of the Bhagavatam. So this is an important purport that good. Any comments, questions?
I just have a generalized question. Like you mentioned about mind is an illusion also. So someone, when we have a family, we'll be attached, right? How can we be detached as well as attached and lead our process for Krishna consciousness in a proper way? Because as we serve more and more our family, somehow or other we'll be attached. Like we cannot detach from the connection that we have. So lamentation again, it comes as a parcel of it.
This is part of material nature, especially when you have the body of a woman. Then you are attached to children by nature. If you would not be attached, would not be so good, because you have to take care of them. That attachment is there, but so we cannot get rid of that immediately. That's not possible. That's not possible. It's a gradual process. It's a gradual process. It cannot go immediately. But like I said a few days ago, Queen Kunti, she prays to cut off the familiar attachment. There are two things here. Prabhupada writes in the next purport, Queen Kunti is not praying. It is not praying to take her affection for the Pandavas away. Affection is natural. It's natural. That so in Krishna consciousness we feel affection, love for all living entities, because they are part and parcels of Krishna. You cannot love Krishna, but not this devotee. I feel averse. So we must learn to forgive, because we cannot love Krishna if we don't love the devotees. And that love is expanded to all living entities. Prahlad Maharaj says, I feel love, and I'm concerned with all these fools and rascals who try to exploit this material energy. But Queen Kunti is praying to take away her misconception. she thinks the Pandavas are her sons. They are not her sons. And that's the skin affection. And that must be removed. But so if we serve our children, we should understand these are not my children, Krishna's children. And we should raise them in Krishna consciousness. But don't be attached. Give up gradually your attachment. You can give that up by chanting with attention, by hearing the Bhagavatam, associating with devotees, engage in devotional service, and surely this attachment will go. Because there is also the reality of material nature that we have expectations from children that we should leave that up to Krishna. Because small children, small problems, big children, big problems. Your expectations will not become true. These children are your karma. And they will bring you what you deserve. Good or bad. Good and bad will be there. So they are there to bring you your karma. So don't be too attached to them. We have also got children in previous lives before, we all forgot. But raise them in Krishna consciousness and let this attachment go. Especially, don't have these expectations. You will suffer because of that later. That we do our best to educate children in Krishna consciousness, but taking up Krishna consciousness is voluntarily. You cannot force that. They will go their own way, and they will not do what you expect. So be ready for that. Be detached from that. Prabhupada said, it's going to rain, you take an umbrella. So you are informed that don't have these expectations and accept them as they are. And it's not that they don't become big devotees, that we still give affection. We give the example for them and leave it up to Krishna. Does that help a bit? Okay.
Attachment is something maybe down the line you have to learn and then get there.
You cannot be detached artificially. Attachment to Krishna means detachment from this world. That's the only way. You have to become attached to Krishna. Not try to detach artificially. It doesn't work. If you become attached to Krishna, then this attachment is a natural side effect. That's not my statement. That's a statement in the Bhagavatam that in the second chapter of the first canto, when one becomes attached to Krishna, then it has two side effects. That realized knowledge will follow and detachment from this world. That's in the Bhagavatam. Yes.
In many lectures, it comes across as the process is really simple, but to reach it is a journey. Acharyas mentioned that.
Yeah, we have all our own journey. We are all on different levels, and we have to go through it. But we should hear the Bhagavatam and learn by hearing. That's first class. Otherwise, Krishna will make us learn in another way which is not so pleasant. So that we should be prepared for that. Good. Thank you very much. Time is over. Shantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai.